Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. These words have changed millions of lives. They might sound like just a clever phrase at first, but think about them for a moment. What dreams have you carried in your mind? Dreams that made your heart race, but you let them slip away because they felt impossible. Maybe it was starting a business, becoming financially free, traveling the world, or even just living a life on your own terms. We often kill our own dreams before the world ever has a chance to challenge them. And yet, Napoleon Hill tells us something radically different. The true barrier to success isn't money, connections, or luck. It's the way we think. Now, who was Napoleon Hill? He wasn't a billionaire himself. He wasn't born into wealth or power. In fact, he grew up in poverty in rural Virginia in the late 1800s. But what made him unique was a mission given to him by one of the richest men in history, Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie told Hill, "If you want to understand success, don't just study one person. Study hundreds, learn their secrets, and share them with the world." Hill accepted that challenge, and for over 20 years, he interviewed giants like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, Theodore Roosevelt, and so many others. Out of all those interviews came one of the most influential personal development books ever written, Think and Grow Rich, first published in 1937. Now think about that moment in history. The world was in the grip of the Great Depression. People were losing their jobs, their homes, their hope. In the middle of all that suffering, Hill releases a book with a bold claim that anyone, regardless of their circumstances, can create wealth, success, and happiness if they master the power of their mind. And here's the crazy part. Almost a century later, in a world of technology, social media, side hustles, and global opportunities, the principles still apply perfectly. Success has always been about mindset, persistence, and belief, and that hasn't changed. So, let's walk through the heart of Hill's philosophy. Imagine this not as a list of lessons, but as a journey, a story about how the invisible power of thought shapes everything we see, do, and become. Hill begins with the idea of desire. Every great success starts with a burning desire, an obsession so strong that failure is not an option. Think of the Wright brothers. At a time when most people thought flying was impossible, these two bicycle mechanics had an obsession to put man in the air. Their desire burned so hot that even endless crashes, failures, and public ridicule couldn't stop them. And eventually, they proved the world wrong. Hill says desire is the starting point of all achievement. Not wishing, not hoping, but desire so strong that it becomes part of who you are. But desire without belief is like fuel without a spark. You can want something badly, but if you don't believe it's possible, you'll never put your full energy behind it. Belief, or faith as Hill calls it, is the foundation. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." And he was right. If you believe in your dream, your mind will find a way. If you doubt yourself, you'll sabotage your own efforts before they even begin. Here's where the mind becomes almost magical. Hill explains that the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. Whatever you repeatedly tell yourself, especially with emotion, your subconscious accepts as truth. This is what he calls autosuggestion. Imagine you're planting seeds in a garden. If you plant seeds of confidence, success, and possibility, eventually those seeds grow into actions and results. But if you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and failure, that's exactly what you'll harvest. Your thoughts are shaping your future, whether you realize it or not. Now, once you have desire and belief, you need direction. Hill discovered that knowledge by itself isn't power. We all know people who are brilliant but broke, educated but stuck. Knowledge only becomes power when it is organized, focused, and applied to a definite purpose. Think about Steve Jobs. He didn't invent the computer. He didn't personally write the code for the iPhone. But he had specialized knowledge about design, vision, and human psychology, and he surrounded himself with people who filled the gaps. That focus created Apple, one of the most valuable companies in history. And this leads us to one of the most powerful principles Hill ever revealed, the mastermind. No great success is ever achieved alone. When two or more minds come together in harmony, Hill says, they create a third, invisible force, a mastermind. This is more than teamwork. It's synergy. It's energy that multiplies when people with shared vision and complementary skills unite. Think about the partnership of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, or Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. Their combined minds created results far greater than either could have achieved alone. If you want to grow rich, not just in money, but in life, you must find your mastermind. Of course, all of this means nothing if you never act. How many times have you seen someone with incredible potential, great ideas, even burning passion, but they never take the leap? Hill says successful people make decisions quickly and firmly, and they change them slowly if at all. Unsuccessful people, on the other hand, take forever to decide and change their minds constantly. Indecision is a silent killer. It drains energy and paralyzes action. The truth is, there's no perfect moment. The best time to start is always now. But starting isn't enough. You have to keep going. Persistence is the difference between those who dream and those who achieve. Think of Colonel Sanders. At the age of 65, broke and living on a small Social Security check, he traveled across America trying to sell his fried chicken recipe to restaurants. He was rejected more than 1,000 times. Imagine hearing no over and over again at that age. But he persisted and eventually won yes, turned into Kentucky Fried Chicken. Today a global brand. Hill also flips our perspective on failure. Most of us are taught to fear failure, to see it as proof that we're not good enough. But Hill says every failure carries the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Failure isn't the end. It's simply feedback. Edison didn't fail 1,000 times at making the light bulb. He discovered 1,000 ways that didn't work, each one bringing him closer to the way that did. When you reframe failure as learning, you become unstoppable. There's another dimension to Hill's philosophy that often surprises readers, the role of imagination. He argues that imagination is the workshop of the mind, where desires take shape into ideas and plans. Think of Walt Disney. He imagined Disneyland long before it existed. People thought he was crazy until they walked through the gates of the Magic Kingdom. Imagination bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And underlying all of this is the mind's ability to tune into opportunities. He'll believe that thoughts are energy, and just like a radio, your mind can tune into frequencies of success or failure depending on what you focus on. If you're constantly focused on problems, fear, and limitations, that's the frequency you'll pick up. But if you focus on solutions, opportunities, and abundance, you'll start to see doors where others only see walls. Now, let's bring this closer to your life. What do you actually do with these ideas? Here are some practical steps you can start with today. First, define your burning desire. Be specific. Write it down in detail. What you want, when you want it, and why. Don't just say, I want more money. Say, I want to earn $10,000 a month through my business by the end of next year so I can provide security for my family and freedom to live on my own terms. The more specific, the more powerful. Second, feed your belief. Every morning and every night, repeat your goal to yourself out loud with emotion, as if it's already real. Visualize it. Feel it. Your subconscious mind will begin to accept it as reality. Third, create a plan. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it will change over time. The important thing is to start moving. Action creates clarity. Fourth, find your mastermind. Surround yourself with people who believe in your vision, who challenge you to grow, who bring skills you don't have. Success is contagious when you're in the right environment. Fifth, commit to persistence. Expect setbacks. Expect rejection. But also expect that every obstacle contains a hidden lesson or opportunity. Keep going when others quit. That's where the breakthroughs happen. And finally, protect your mind. Be careful what you feed it. If you're constantly consuming negativity, gossip, and fear, that's the garden you're planting. Instead, fill your mind with positive, empowering ideas and spend time with people who lift you higher. Napoleon Hill's message is simple but life-changing. Your thoughts shape your destiny. The riches you seek, whether money, health, love, or happiness, all begin in the mind. If you can control your thoughts, you can control your life. So let me ask you, what's the dream you've been holding back? The one that excites you, but also scares you? Imagine what would happen if you gave it everything. Your desire, your belief, your persistence. A year from now, you could look back at this very moment as a turning point. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for permission. Your future begins with a single decision, a single thought. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to this channel. We'll keep exploring the powerful books and ideas that can transform your life. And remember this, your success is waiting. All you have to do is claim it.